This is Financial Literacy 101. I'm your host, Ross. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Gift Giving Day to everyone out there. I thought I wasn't going to do a video today, but I was inspired to do a video. This is basically a video on my reparations comments, and I'm going to do a reparations video by week's end, or I plan to do one by week's end. But, quite frankly, reparations, I've been watching a lot of videos from the 1960s, 1960, 62, 64, 65 about reparations. And, basically we always talk about 40 acres and a mule, right? 40 acres and a mule. But did you know there was also 40 acres and a mule and $100, right? To really put us somewhere that we can actually do something with, because you can give us 40 acres, you can give us a mule, but we don't have any money to actually buy the seeds or buy the materials that we need to get started. So I really want to do a deep dive into reparations and what that means for us as Native Black people of today. Because here's the thing, not every African American deserves reparations. Now, some of you, I know when I said that your hair on your head stood up. Now, mine didn't, because I don't have any hair on my head. I'm freshly shaved. But not every African American or African descended person that's living in America deserves or is legally right. What's the term I'm trying to use? It's not legally right for you, essentially, right? I can't find the words to actually express what I'm feeling and what I'm trying to put across. But here's the thing, if your ancestors were Black natives, meaning that they were taken from the continent of Africa and brought to America, if you are a direct descendant of slavery, doesn't matter how many generations there was in between, 100, 200, 300, 400 years of slavery, when you encompasses the whole world dealing with Black people, but for the U.S., about 200 years. But nonetheless, if your parents, your ancestors are not slaves, then you don't deserve reparations, because then they were just giving every Black person that's here reparations. Now, this is what I'm getting at. The Africans that came over and became African Americans, meaning that, I know some people who are Africans, they still, say they're from Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, but they have their American citizenship. Just like there's some white people who say they are Native Americans, right? And they try to join up to be on tribes. They try to be part of tribes to try to do what? Get their resources. So if you don't think there's going to be other people that may look like you but don't deserve it, it's kind of like if you did all the work but somebody take all the credit. You get what I'm trying to say? You do all the work but somebody take all the credit. Not every African descended person is living in America, or every African so-called American deserves or legally bounded to getting reparations. You have to be a Black native, meaning that your ancestors brought you over. That means that the white Europeans during the transatlantic slave trade brought your ancestors over on those ships, and you are direct descendant of slaves through generations. Now, I'm not taking away from my African brother, because we understand that the European nation also colonized 95% of the African continent. Their reparations should be with Europe, okay? Our reparations are with America. And quite frankly, our reparations should be with America and Europe. Both of them should be paying out the ass for our reparation, not just America. Let's be real about it. Yes, we made America rich, but who started it? Okay, if you notice, we always, even in today's society, even if you was playing basketball, football, the second person that throws the blows is the person that always get caught, okay? But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing. I know people from other countries, okay? I know people from the continent of Africa that look just like me, but they don't deserve Black native reparations. Their ancestors were not slaves. Okay, now granted, I'm not saying that some of their ancestors were not taken and then they broke the line, but then you would be basically declining our inheritance. Do you understand? Because you got to have some sort of lineage, you have to have some sort of tracking system in order to pay people reparations, because if you're black, you're in. Does that really work? Because during the time when America, right, Ronald Reagan paid the Japanese, during the Japanese internment, he paid 1,100 Japanese people who were in these concentration camps. They want to call them internment camps. They were concentration camps. He paid each. It is a very, very difficult, it's a very biased topic, because all black financial people, all black, we're going to think differently on this. But I think the one thing that we can agree is this: give us what you owe us. Not us essentially, but every other person who was done wrong on a large scale, their descendants have received reparations. Germany is still paying, okay? Germany is still paying reparations to the Jews today. Did you know that? Germany is still paying reparations to the Jews, because we understand that they call it the third rank. The third rank was under the Nazi regime, okay? The third rank was under the Nazi regime, and Germany is still paying reparations for what they did to the Jews during 1942 through 1945. And we also know about the Holocaust, about how all the Jews died in many different ways. I'm not taking away from that. That's their struggle, that's their battle, and they're getting their just due. They're still paying out the yin-yang. The Germans are still paying out the yin-yang for their reparations. Now, America is still paying Native Americans for their reparations. They're still paying Native Americans for their reparations. Now, they pay for their housing. Their reservations almost ran like cities, okay? They don't pay any taxes, because they deem that Native American tribes that live on reservations are sovereign land. They're sovereign land. Basically, they have their own laws, they have their own police, but we still fund it. America still funded, because you're like, you know what? We took everything from you and we left you with nothing. That sound like some people you know? Does that sound like some people you know? We took everything from you and we left you and we killed you. We tried to make you slaves, but we couldn't, because you guys knew the land. This was your land, and you ran away. And you started to attack us. You started to attack innocent white people who came over here for a better way of living. Do those white people, those settlers, those pilgrims, do they understand what happened when the first people came over and what they tried to do in order for them to live their life they're living today? Do you understand that your ancestors killed people? Do you understand that your ancestors gave people smallpox, etc.? Let's really figure out. That's right, ADOS. Someone put up in the comments, the ADOS, correct. Now, I wanted to break it down just a little bit better than that, but you're right. ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, okay? But I'm telling you. Now, how about this, though? Do you really think we're going to get our reparations? Do you really think we're going to get our reparations? I don't know. But I can tell you this. You need to start making your own reparations. You need to start making your own reparations, Ross World. You need to start making your own reparations, because we sit around and we wait. We sit around and we wait. We need to do something. Here's the thing. I talked to somebody the other day, and he was a black man. He said one thing that was really profound. He said, why you don't think, we don't have our reparations yet? And I was coming up with all sorts of excuses and reasons. He said, I can give you one. And I said, what is that? He said, we are not organized. And I thought about it. I said, well, we got organization. We got the Black Caucus. He said, no. It don't matter. As a matter of fact, the NAACP haven't been effective since the 60s and early 70s. And I think about it, he was correct. But he said, we have organizations, but we're not organized. Now, this conversation was slight in defense of Obama, right? But my argument with Obama is he was a very likable president. He was the first black president, and I'm glad for it. But everybody would agree, and I mean, and of course, this is very biased of me to speak for everyone, but a majority of the people I know would definitely tell you that when they look at the black and white, okay, the laws, legislation, the regulation, the bills, you name it, when I say, well, what do Obama did for black people? Not the American people, that was specifically for black people. They say, you're right. He didn't do nothing for us. And granted, his first term, I was not expecting anything from Obama, because I realized I would want him to get a second term, and he did. And I said, so I waited the first year. I said, you know what? His last 2 years is when he's going to really make a difference. But he didn't. He didn't do anything for black people. His last year in office, he gave a Native American tribe that was out of Utah 1 million acres. 1 million acres. And I have been reading black professionals, black intellectuals, black philosophers, black financial people about their thoughts about reparations, and everybody is coming up with similar very things. Give us some land. I want to say give us 5 acres of land and give us $25,000. Give us 5 acres of land and give us some stocks in 3 stocks that we want, or whatever, okay? But something that's worth something in case we want to cash it out and actually invest that. What about loan forgiveness or loan or school grants? Like wipe away all ADOS school loans, and for this generation, those people who are in school right now, you grant them the money. How about that? How about that? See, here's the thing about reparations. It's a very difficult conversation, whether you're black or white, because some white people will say, well, my family didn't have slaves. My family had nothing to do with slavery. But what they don't understand is that they benefited from slavery, and indirectly or directly. That's what they don't understand. By you limiting one race, you create opportunities for another race. You get what I'm trying to say? It's kind of like saying, I'm gonna make something simple as, if you're up in New York and you want to go to Nathan's hot dog stand, okay, you go to Nathan's hot dog stand, downtown New York, Manhattan, and the guy, he sees 10 people in line. There's 5 black people, there's five white people, and it's 5 hot dogs left. And he said, hey, I don't serve black people. Automatically you exclude 5 people, which then those all 5 white people get their hot dogs while the black people get nothing. Okay, I made that very basic for you to understand things, because we didn't have the same opportunities. Those opportunities and resources, they wasn't stripped from us. They never gave them to us. See, here's the thing. We always talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we talk about that being the Black Wall Street. There were many Black Wall Streets. There was a Black Wall Street in Georgia as well. There was many of them. But what we need to understand is, anytime we try to come up in this world, we try to come up in America, what do? Tulsa, Oklahoma was the first American city ever bombed from the air. It was the first American city ever bombed from the air. Then it was done by its own people on one particular neighborhood, one particular community, all for the sense of business. See, they would like to use, was it Emmett Till, I believe? He so-called touched a white girl's butt, or he looked at a white girl or something crazy like that, and he got killed for it, and then they destroyed a whole entire city. They did mass genocide on a whole entire city and bombed the businesses. Why didn't you just hang the black boy? Why didn't you just cut him up and burn like you do everybody else? Now, I know that's, the things I'm saying are very heartbreaking, but here's the thing. Why did they go through the trouble of destroying a whole entire city? I'm a little amped up about it. Because that's what we need to understand, that you're going to meet Caucasians that say my family had nothing to do with slavery. I tracked it. My family is from Nova Scotia. We're from Sweden, and we had nothing to do with X, Y, and Z. See, there's a lot of philosophers out there, Like, what's the West guy's name? I forgot the West guy's name. I love that guy. But he calls everybody my dear brother. And he's such a pleasant guy. I would never rank or speak ill will or negative to him in any manner. But here's the thing. We need everybody out there. Your Dr. Boyce Watkins, your Roland Martins, your Talib Rashid. We need all those powerful guys who has those huge platforms, who have the wealth in order to join together. Cornel West, thank you. Thank you, Willie Mae. Cornel West. We need them to get together and organize. Not start an organization, but organize, because guess what? No one's really listening to was it Reverend Al Sharpton or the guy Jesse Jackson. No one's even listening to those guys anymore. What we need is people like Dr. Claude Anderson, who was on the front lines, who's been tracking things all through history, writing books about it, and still fighting for it today. The guy's in his 80s. He's still fighting for it. Okay, he has a plan. If you would read Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics, then you will understand. See, there's a lot of black philosophers, black financial people out there who are willing to work with everyone, but nobody wants to work with them. I would say, just people off the top of my head, Dr. Boyce Watkins, he's always open to talk to people that he can get together and start something. I would take him. I would take Umar Johnson, because he's a very powerful voice. I would take Dr. Claude Anderson. I would take Cornel West. I would take Roland Martin. I would take all those black professionals in order to do so. You said 5 acres and 25,000 is not enough. We got to start somewhere. And I agree. I am just giving a opinion. I am just giving a suggestion, because here's the thing. It makes me a little angry, and people say, well, what are you doing? I'm putting the message out. I'm emailing. I'm doing this. But me and those people I even name, they need help. We all need help. We can't sit back and believe that Cory Booker is going to do it. We can't sit back and think that Andrew Yang is going to do it. Okay? We can't sit back and think that Elizabeth Warren is going to do it, or Bernie Sanders is going to do it. I was looking at a video today, and it was Jim Brown, and he was talking to this white Georgia governor about social integration. And a lot of people believe that social integration, that is when black people in America start doing bad. And I really thought about it, right? I did some reading, I did some research. And do you believe? Oh, and here's another thing. Dr. Claude Anderson was on the Breakfast Club a couple of days ago. You should go watch it. It's about an hour. But let me tell you, it's his wealth of knowledge. You really got to go listen to it, because this guy knows his stuff. Anyway, but it made me do some research. He was talking about that his family owned a bus line. What state was that? I can't recall what state, but they owned 500 buses. 500 buses. So when they start talking about social integration, right? Social integration, they say, peace and greetings, Columbia, South Carolina. Thank you for the message. Really enjoy the channel. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Willie, man. Yeah, so South Carolina and North Carolina, they have over 500 buses. And he was talking about how when blacks wanted to socially integrate with whites, how it destroyed and dismantled black businesses. Because here's the thing about assimilation. We, especially back then, if you look at the 50s, 60s, and 70s, we was trying to integrate so much, right? Until your Black Panther Party came in and your Nation of Islam came in. Then we became more black. It was like 50s, 60s, we was trying to be white. Then the 70s, we was trying to even be black. We wore afros, we wore bell. We was totally different. Then if you look back in the 80s and 90s, what we started doing again? We started straightening our hair. We started trying to be white professionals. Because people would tell you, some of the most powerful white supremacists are black people. Who killed Malcolm X? Now, we all believe by the way of the FBI, that's what people believe by the way of the FBI, that through black people, because you always got to have a scapegoat, you always got to have a Sambo, that they killed Malcolm X. But see, here's the thing: you always need a black white face in black places. What am I talking about? You always need a black white face in black places. See, we never have those undercover spies in the places that we need them, but they will have undercover spies in our places. See, I'm a little choked up about it because when you really think about it, ladies and gentlemen, the Japanese got their reparations, the Jews got their reparation, and it was one more group that got their reparations, the Native Americans. The Native Americans. And see, why are we the only people that don't have their reparations? And here's the thing. I talk to so many people and they would tell me, oh, it's because of this. It's because of that. And I hate to be so simple-minded sometimes, but I have to bring down the intellectual jargon in my mind. We're black. That's why. They understand if we give black people resources, then they will be better. They will be far better off than us. They may be the rulers and the people who start to rule this country when we start to give them resources and give them money. I know you guys understand what I'm talking about. See, here's the thing about a black person, about an African American. Once we figure out who we are, we're the most powerful people in the world. And this is not, see, you know what? And I noticed this too. When you start speaking black about, your own kind, about black people, other races may think that you're racist or prejudiced. Well, I would just take Dr. Claus Anderson definition that black people can't be racist because we don't have control over anything. We don't have control over anything. So we can't be racist, right? We can't systematically be racist against any other race because we control nothing. Because we control nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whites, their dollar is 13 times more powerful than ours. Hispanics are 10 times more. Ours not even that powerful. Okay, black folk need unity. Organization segregation was a bad thing in my opinion. Okay. Your comments keep fading away. I don't know why I had a super chat on. See, okay, here we go. It says black folk need unity. Organization segregation was a bad thing in my opinion. A black person pulled the trigger on Malcolm X. Why does it keep fading away? They understand the art of war. They do. They definitely read Sun Tzu Art of War like I did. And that's the thing. This is what I noticed about our people. And I'm going to leave it like this because this is supposed to be just reparation comments. Because I'm speaking about reparations. I'm going to dive a little deeper later on in the week about reparations. But here's the thing. We don't read. We don't read. We don't. As a people, we don't read. See, someone can always teach a black person their history. You know why? Because you don't read your history. Not even during February. They gave us a month. Oh, it's 28 days. It's 7. When is the lunar leap year? It's 20. Listen, if your kids don't know black history, and see, this is why I've noticed in Washington State, living here has taught me a lot, especially about Native Americans, what they receive, but also taught me about black people that live in Washington State. Black people in Washington State, their kids and them, they know nothing about black history. When I started talking about Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, I started talking about Charles Drew, Anna Malone. See, my girl today told me about Anna Malone. I thought Madam C.J. Walker, or I think her legal name was Sarah Breedlove. That's what her name is. But she went by Madam C.J. Walker, and she was considered the first black millionaire. That's wrong. It was actually Anna Malone who was the first black millionaire. Anna Malone is the one who actually taught Madam C.J. Walker, and they went to her school called Poro. P-O-R-O is an African term I believe that it means beauty and wealth or something like that. And she had a school that she built up in St. Louis, Missouri. See, she was the first black millionaire, a black woman. A black woman was the first black millionaire, and this was in the 20s. And this was in the 20s. But hey, the point I'm making is this. You guys can go on social media and you guys can read and laugh and entertain and watch, but you don't read for yourself. You don't do a deep dive into your own history. Who are teaching your kids? Who are teaching you your history? See, you need to learn your history. I don't know all my history. Okay, my history is your history. I'm still learning about my history. I have a lot of people in my head, like Gerd Morgan. Gerd Morgan is a black man who created the first gas mask. He also created one of the first versions of the stoplight in America. A black man. Okay, what about the guy? I forgot his name. I think it was Lattimore. His last name was Lattimore, but he is the guy who was on Edison's team who made the light bulb. Without his ingenuity and his craftsmanship, the light bulb would have never sustained a light, the light or the illumination for more than a minute. He is the one who improved the coil or the filament of the light bulb. Do you know your history? So we're talking about reparations. We have to understand that reparations is a history topic that we're trying to bring throughout the lineage, throughout the years into present form. Because when we look at everybody else's history, right? When we look at everybody else's history, we're like, wow, everybody got their reparations except us. We need to get our reparations. What did America promise to us? Do you understand about the Black Reconstruction? Do you understand? Do you know anything about the Black Reconstruction? They also call it the Second Constitution. The Second Constitution, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments. Do you know anything about those? I want you to look into those. And here's another thing. Did you know that slavery is still legal in America? You gotta know your history. You gotta know your history, ladies and gentlemen. You have to know your history. Slavery is still legal in America. I want you to go out and I want you to read the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Do you know about the Black Codes? Do you know about the Jim Crow laws? See, did you just hear about the Jim Crow laws, or do you know what the Jim Crow laws are? And we're gonna dive deep into this when we talk about reparations later in the week here. We're gonna talk about reparations. We're gonna talk about Black Reconstruction. We're gonna talk about the Black Codes. We're gonna talk about Jim Crow. And some of this information is in Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. That's Black Labor, White Wealth, a very powerful book. I just was reading it like, are you serious? They were this damn racist back in the day? Yeah. You gotta know your history, because if you don't know your history, then you don't really know who you are. Then you don't know where you're going. See, and I'm not ragging on the people here in Washington State, but just like my parents, your parents, other parents, we rely on the system, the white imperialistic European system, to teach our kids our history. Guess who all our kids know about? You said it. You said it. Martin Luther King. That's the only person. You know why? Because he talked about nonviolence. They don't want to let them know about Malcolm X. Oh, no. They don't want to let them know about Marcus Garvey. Oh, hell no. Because if you start talking about Marcus Garvey, right? You start talking about Black nationalism. If you start talking about the Black Panther Party, how organized they were, organized as a community and as a people, as they got together and said, oh, you want to kill us? You want to blow up our Black Panther Party units and buildings and things like that? They start grabbing guns. They don't want to let you know about Black groups who took up arms and was willing to fight and die against their white oppressors in America. Now, I'm going to leave you with this disclaimer. Not all white people are bad. Not all white people are racist. But all white people have been affected, have been influenced and have been privileged because of the color of their skin. Let's flip it. All black people, that's all black people, have been affected, have been infected, and have been influenced because of the color of your skin. I don't care how many white friends you have. I don't care. I don't care if you grew up in a white suburban neighborhood, you was the only black dude, you was the only black girl, and you're dating a white chick or you dating a white boy. But I tell you, push come to shove, when the ropes come out, they're going to ask you, are you with him or are you with us? I wonder which side they'll pick.